So we've been doing the 100 days of community, and it was my answer to the first 100 days of the presidency. Right? I was like, you know what? If they're going to show up terrorizing us, we may as well show up in love, community, etc. And let's talk about how to build community, right? Because that's kind of like my shtick, the thing that I do. Hi, Carolyn. I am feeling so good. I'm feeling amazing today, as you guys could tell. So today I opened this up. Usually it's paywalled and it's for paid subscribers only. Today I opened it up to everyone and anyone. And like I said, hi Mimi. On TikTok as well, simply because, well, one of my Substack notes has started to go viral, and it was talking about the Black Panthers survival plans, right? And I was like, okay, well, this could be a good way for people to get to know me aside from the note and see the work that we have been doing here in this space. Also, I wanted to talk, as we've been building up. Today, we're talking about mutual aid as a liberation practice. So what was interesting to me is like having conversations with people or being in the sphere of just an online existence is the way people view mutual aid. And I notice that it's usually viewed through the lens of charity, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to give to Goodwill. I'm going to give to Desiree. Or I'm not going to give to X, this normalized charity sort of thing, right? Like a bigger conglomerate. And I'm going to give to this smaller person or join this smaller person's Patreon, but it's still viewed through the lens of charity. And I realized that more so as I kind of nailed in for me yesterday during the conscious parenting biweekly check-in, right? We were talking, one of the parents was there and was like, and I know that she didn't mean anything from it, but she's like, oh, I've chosen to, give to Des, and my husband says it's okay when I'm giving to Des. And I was like, oh, okay, we need to clarify some things. Is that when you give to me, unless it's me having a specific ask, like I had a specific ask, like with the GoFundMe for my backyard and the damage from my pipe. If you are giving to me, 9 times out of 10, it's going into my mutual aid fund, which I have inside of Venmo, which then goes out to those who hit me up. People hit me up all the time for rental assistance, for electric assistance, for food, just in general. I got to get to work today, and I'll give whatever I can from my own coffers that are personal. And then obviously, if there's some stores over, I hand that out, or I will absolutely try to raise some more funding for them. But it just put me in the mind of recognizing that people are still viewing mutual aid through that lens of a charity. So I wanted to break down those things. So you guys know I do 3 points, right? So we are here and it is day 37 and we are going to be talking about mutual aid as a liberation practice. And here are the 3 points. 1, mutual aid is rooted in solidarity, not charity. 2, mutual aid builds resilient communities. 3, mutual aid is more than just financial support. That is a very key component to it, and I will get to that as we go through all of our things. So anyway, morning again. I'm going to take a sip of water. Hi, TikTok fam. Okay, so 1, mutual aid is rooted in solidarity, not charity. Mutual aid recognizes the collective responsibility to meet community needs, fostering solidarity and shared responsibility rather than hierarchical giving, which is what charities do, right? Like, oh, I have this much more, this excess, and I'm going to give to those who have less than me, right? Like that is the hierarchy of giving. If you notice, these systems are built into every single thing that we do, even when we believe it's altruistic, even when we believe it's in good stead, right? The systems are still the same. It's hierarchical. It's always on a binary of have not, good versus evil, et cetera, et cetera. The system replicates itself over and over again. So I put it as an example. A community refrigerator program allows neighbors to take or leave food as needed with no gatekeeping or proof of need required. Unlike food pantries with strict eligibility requirements, these fridges embody the principle of from each according to their ability to each according to their need. And I say that because that is super important, right? Even for myself, I'm like, hey, I decided for years I did an equity business model, but the reality is I'm surviving capitalism too. So I could no longer, it was not sustainable. And I tell people, do what is sustainable. I had run through thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of trying to sustain systems, trying to provide things uh, without getting enough back, right? Without it being replenished. So I was like, I can't do that. So everything became paywalled. However, what I offered was equity, equitable access. If you need something that I offer that is mine solely, I can offer it to you on a sliding scale. I can offer it to you for free. Even with my Substack subscription, I'm like, you email me scholarships@DesireeBStevens.com. There's a no questions asked. I'm going to trust you. Period, point blank. That's equity and that's accessibility. However, when you're talking about charity in these sorts of ways, um, like I said, with the food pantry, you have to come and show a lot of things. People have to jump through a lot of hoops to just get some food. When in truth, they should just need some food, right? Because there's days where even me, who's doing pretty decent in capitalism, I'm like, damn, I could really use some milk. And do I really have $6 because one of my kids is lactose intolerant for milk? And maybe I do, and maybe I don't. Those days, it's in flux. This economy is wild. People should not have to jump through hoops in order to gain access to things that should just be available. Food should just be an available thing. Housing should be something that's available. So when we're talking about equitable systems, when we're talking about mutual aid built in solidarity and not charity, that's the idea. Is that I am in solidarity, that there's going to be different days, different times that you meet, that you need. I had one person that was faithfully giving $100 a month for like 2 years to me, right? They didn't care whether they showed up to any of the group meetings, they took anything that I offered, but they gave it. They gave it because they knew the work that I was doing in the world was worth it. And then they text me and they was like, I don't have it this year. Did I berate them? Then I'm like, well, what the hell? No. Thank you for the time that you were able to give. Deeply appreciated. And I comp them a year of the access to Substack as a small thank you, right? That's solidarity. It's going to change. It's going to be in flux, and that's okay. But charity mindset is saying that you need somebody to consistently be underneath. And that's following a colonizer's mindset. That's following the colonizer's blueprint, right? Because capitalism demands that pyramid scheme, right? Capitalism demands a lower class. It does not work if somebody is not destitute, if there's not somebody who's absolutely will never make it out of the trenches. There's no bootstrapping your way out of the trenches. It is a necessity in order for capitalism to work. Okay, so we have to get that into our mind and how we approach mutual aid and solidarity, not charity. I expanded the concept, right? I said mutual aid isn't just about helping the needy. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that meeting basic needs should not be contingent on wealth or status. True solidarity means rejecting saviorism and instead asking, what do we need to sustain ourselves and each other? With my own self, I told you, you know what? I have a free library. I was like, oh, I'm going to build a little free pantry. I'm not going to build shit. Okay. I'm disabled. I'm lucky if I can make my bed on some days. So instead, what I did was I was like, it's winter. It's cold. If you want to read a book, go to the library. I turned my library, my little free library, into a little free pantry. There's food there. Right. When I do my groceries, I buy shit and just put it in there. Right. You can get really inexpensive stuff and it's there and you can provide that, right? My goal, my malicious compliance, because they had a problem with me having stuff on my front lawn. So I added a whole bunch of shit that shouldn't be there, but like in compliance with malicious. Will be to have food that grows that people can just walk by and pluck off, right? Native plants, pluckable food. Here's some squash, some gourd, some beans. Pull it off, walk by, eat, grocery shop, whatever, like it's not that big of a deal. So something like that is a mutual aid, right? Something that's going to cost me $5 in a store for some seeds can feed how many people, right? Instead of me saying, oh, I'm going to give this $5. No, I may not be able to give $5 to all the places I would like to, but I got $5 for these seeds and that's going to feed how many people can come. And then they could take those seeds and, they become heirloom seeds and they plant them and then they could do it and then they could do it. And so mutual aid becomes an expansive idea where charity is still limited in that hierarchy. I'm so glad you love this, Anna. Good morning. Hi over there too. Sorry. Okay. So two, because these are micro lessons every morning. Two, mutual aid builds resilient communities. By meeting immediate needs and fostering relationships, mutual aid helps communities build resilience in the face of systemic failures, right? That's it. We do not need permission. A lot of the note that went really popular on Substack, one of the lines that I was speaking about in regard to the Black Panther and Panthers and what they brought to us is we don't need permission. Like, it's wild to think that we are going to get permission from systems that are working. First of all, you have to get away from the idea that these systems and this government is not working. It's an efficient machine of oppression. It is working exactly as it is intended to. It is working exactly as it was built to. And it's getting more and more foot on neck for the average person. So we don't need permission. Another thing that we touched on yesterday in the conscious parenting meeting, Yolanda, who is brilliant from Decolonized Parenting Decolonized, she was like, like law-abiding citizens are not going to be the way to go if you're looking for true change, right? You're asking permission to collect water that falls from the sky in your own backyard. You're asking for permission to plant food for you to eat in some soil in front of your apartment building on your fire escape. I'm from New York City, so like my mom used to like plant on the fire escape. No, we're going to have to become ungovernable, right? That is a must. Become ungovernable. Revoke your consent to be governed. We are no longer doing this. This is absurd. It's never served the people. It's definitely not serving the people now. And we are not going to take this. We're just not. We just can't. It's not sustainable. It never was sustainable. But now more people are realizing it, at least the people that have the leverage to make a difference, right? So as we go on, I say, during a natural disaster, a neighborhood organizes food and supply distribution while waiting for government aid to arrive. This ensures survival and prevents resilience on institutions that are often slow or selective in their response. Perfect example was in Appalachia recently, right? Chelsea White, uh, it's not Rising Appalachia because that's the music group. Oh, my love, Leah and Chloe. Redneck Rising. Redneck Rising. She has a podcast. She's on Instagram, but she was instrumental in bringing food, clothes, all of the things, right? Medical needs to that area, to an area that would easily be forgotten because, again, whiteness eats its own. And poor whites are not doing anything. They're just the fodder at the bottom that needs to exist for capitalism to keep on going. So they're even selective about helping their own. So that's not anything special or new. So those people needed to gather others to come into it. That's not charity. That's mutual aid. That's knowing at any point in time, it could be you. It can be you. Like a hurricane can come through, a fire could take away your home. We have got to recognize our interconnectedness and how it can honestly be us at any point in time. We become way too comfortable with the comforts of the United States of America, right? This is why many other countries laugh at us. Like you don't even understand struggle. And I'm like, oh, yeah, some of us do, because many of us who grew up impoverished inside of the United States of America understand exactly how third world country this place could be. Hold on, because somebody's over here talking to me on TikTok too. It reminds of growing up, all the neighbors picked up from each other's fruit and nut trees. Right. Like that is a necessity. That is something that is needed. You want to like boycott and do things. I was talking about quiet quitting of capitalism. I thought that that was a fucking phenomenal, I don't know which generation of kids did that, millennials or whatever, where they quiet quit. Like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to do the very bare minimum. You shan't be getting anything extra from me, right? We could do that with capitalism too. Years ago, when people were asking me, and I was like, I live in a neighborhood. How many of us need a lawnmower? I haven't touched my lawnmower since I got my husband was the person who did the lawn, and we've been separated like 2.5 years. That lawnmower has not been touched by me, and it won't be. Okay. I now hire somebody to do that. And before I was hiring somebody to do that, my next door neighbor did not have a lawnmower, but she had a son who was capable of mowing lawns, and I had a lawnmower. So he did mine and he did hers. And how many others could we do that? And if somebody else had a different tool and another had a different tool, and we could quietly quit capitalism, because that's what it demands of us: constant consumption, right? While it's extracting, it's asking us to consume, and we keep pulling and we keep pulling and we keep doing and we keep doing over and over and over again. So there we go. Hello, darling. So, I put expanding the concept. Today was a little bit longer. So, mutual aid should be constructed like a bill, something to sustain, not just a one time donation. If we view community care as essential as rent or groceries, we ensure longevity and reliability. Supremacy culture teaches us to see resources as finite and individual rather than abundant and collective. The more we internalize that scarcity mindset, the more we resist mutual aid, right? So, mutual aid networks existed long before capitalism. Enslaved people relied on underground economies and resource sharing to survive. During the Great Migration, Black families housed and fed each other when they were locked out of housing and employment. You will find this exists in every immigrant group as well. When supremacy culture, whichever supremacy it was, usually white supremacy, um, enacts itself, it excludes. It's exclusionary in its practices. And it says there's not enough for everyone, right? So you can't get in unless you fit in, right? So it forces this assimilation to come along. And for those who cannot assimilate, you will always be locked out in some way or another, right? We don't have, very specifically as Black and brown people, we cannot become white like so many immigrant whites have, right? We don't have that ability. There's nothing we could do. No name changes, no hair straightening, no voice, nothing. There's nothing we could do to fully assimilate into white. So these things have always existed. Susus, collective economics, sharing, you guys sometimes will see it as like, oh, that's ghetto or that's this and other thing. Sharing passwords. Like, yeah. Like, what's ghetto is five of us paying $30 for Netflix. That's ghetto. Okay. Because what? We don't even own anything that we're paying for. All of these digital subscriptions, what's ghetto is not sharing. Okay. What was ghetto was them stopping me from being able to share with my sister. Why should I not be able to share my subscription with my sister? Oh, now we have to be in the same households. That's absurd. When my daughter was away for college, I literally had to pay for two subscriptions. That's ghetto. That's ghetto. Because they were like, well, she's not in your household. I'm like, she's a part of it. Like, she just lives in the dorms. Like, this makes zero sense. But that's capitalism. It is going to extract and continuously pull. So when we look at mutual aid as something as it's a necessity, there's no way to survive here without it. Not only then are you moving away from it like charity, because the truth of the matter is you shouldn't be paying for light bill either. You also should not be paying for water. These are natural things that they have made an intercessory, right? So now you need money to access water that falls from the sky freely. So you have to work, you have to do this. It is an intercessory, it is a disconnect. That is what supremacy culture breeds, right? So if you look at it as that same amount of necessity, right? As somebody like myself, so I am self employed for the last 20 years. Trying to get a loan in this world as a self employed person is absolutely one of the most difficult things ever. I am feeling so much better too, Michelle. Thank you. It's absolutely absurd, right? So let's say somebody turns around and says, you know what, I'm going to dedicate $500 a month to Desiree for the work that she does. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do that for the next 3 years. That's a steady deposit in my account so that when I go to these banks and say, hey, I'm trying to acquire this land, or I need a business loan to expand on my community model because I want to offer retreats, this, that, and the other thing, they see steady things. So your mutual aid is giving another company, because it is a company, this is a business, I am a business, is giving another company steady income to look good inside of these systems to expand on more community giving. Right. So it winds up, I hate to use the trickle down analogy, And I'm trying to find a better one because Reaganomics did not work for anybody. But it's really like what trickle down should have been, right? Like this idea that if you have, you give, and then it expands for those that may not have the capacity or ability to give in that same way. Boom. Oh, you do? Somebody said they share their sister's their Netflix. Delete that before they figure that out because I want to know how you do that in completely different seats. Because me and my sister are here and in New Hampshire, and she can't share mine anymore, and we're very upset about it. It's ridiculous. We do share a phone bill though, right? Like that's another thing. I'm really big about cooperative economics. We're on one big ass family plan. I have like 10 lines on my thing, and so it winds up being super cheaper than if every one of us were individual. Three, because I'm at the top at my 10 o'clock. Mutual aid is more than just financial support. Sit with that. Sit with that. Because when we're talking, that is what people hear. Oh, we got to give more money. We got to give more money. I don't have more money. Listen, we understand capitalism is choking the hell out of everybody. It's not always money, right? Again, like in my own case, I'm a business, right? CRM management, email management, setting up systems, those things are mutual aid, right? Do you know how many thousands of dollars it costs to switch from an LLC to a B Corp? Do you know how many thousands of dollars it costs to copyright, right, or trademark? Imagine a lawyer saying, you know what? I'm not going to give you any money, but I got 5 hours of my time. What do you want? What? What? That is mutual aid that many of us that are out here struggling, or many people that are new to business or just starting off a business could use because it costs a lot of money to become a quote unquote overnight success. Many of us have been out here for years doing this work to the tunes of tens of thousands of dollars. Like people are like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, I have the time to sit down and write. Right. But it took a lot of time and a lot of money to get to a position in my life that I can sit down and do these things, right? So mutual aid is way beyond just finances. Let me see. Michelle says trees growing into a forest, interconnected, but their root system. Yes, that for me is that very much our internet connection, right? Like mycelium network. Mutual aid, is that like Medicaid? I don't want to overtalk on Medicaid and how Medicaid works because as far as I understand Medicaid to be, Medicaid is a federal program that is paid down, and then states get to choose how those funds are doled out. So yes and no, sort of thing, but that's like well beyond my scope of speaking, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm talking about amongst the people. But I guess it could be considered as form of mutual aid. So, like I said, mutual aid is more than just financial support. Mutual aid is about redistributing resources of all kinds, not just money. Skills, labor, space, tools, and even times are a form of support. Instead of only donating money to someone's fundraiser, I already said it though. A person with legal expertise helps navigate the paperwork to convert, from LLC to a B Corp. All of those things are oftentimes I will sit down and help people. I mean, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 odd years. I can easily help somebody formulate, like, okay, here's your LLC, here's the EIN, there's your DUNS number, here are the basics to start a business, here's, your simple setup. I will do that without charging somebody because I know that if you're just starting out, you don't have a couple $100 to throw at somebody many times to set up a legal business entity, which you need a legal business entity to call yourself conducting business, right? Or to be paid in a way like that. So those things are super important. On expanding the concept, I said when mutual aid is only framed as financial giving, it becomes easy to dismiss when people feel they can't afford it. But there are infinite ways to participate, from providing rides, cooking meals, teaching skills, or sharing childcare. I offered the sharing childcare for protests at one point in time. I was like, so you guys do protests in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, which leaves out a huge swath of people. You're not being intersectional because there are people that cannot afford to not go to work. Okay. No matter what they're protesting, even if it's for their own rights, the people that need them as more than anybody else cannot usually afford to step away from capitalism to do that. So what does that look like? So if we're a group of moms who say, you know what, we're 10 moms, we can afford $100, we just do $1,000 in and we're doing childcare. So now we have $1,000 to cover people's wages. So maybe we are not going into that march, but we were able to put 10 people into that march and provide them community care and provide child care. And imagine enough of those pockets doing that, how quickly we could have a financial pot to support people who are going to take the day off, who want to quiet quit, who cannot afford to, quite literally, because a day worth of work means being houseless, means being without light. That is a very real reality for most Americans. I think the last study done was 72% of Americans don't have $400 in the bank. $400? And you guys are out here caping for capitalism? $400? My light bill is 534 every single month, and that's a budget bill. I hate it here. And 72% of Americans do not have $400 in the bank. 400. 400. I want to say that again, over and over and over again, because most people recognize that $400 is not a lot of money. $400. And we are caping for capitalism. And that is a wild concept to me. That is just insane, where we are all closer to being homeless, ho- lights out, food out. We are 3 months to that before we are 3 months to being a billionaire on any given day and twice on Sunday. So I gave a decolonized example. Black and Indigenous communities have long practiced mutual aid through collective child rearing, right? You guys need to embrace more aunties, like, because that is a necessity. I could not live this life without the aunties and uncles and aunties and theys, thems in my life, right? I have issues with my children, and I can call upon these people in good, bad, or other, right? I call him my brother, and he's been that way for years. And I'm like, hey, you gotta come get your nephew because he needs a male perspective because I just sound like a nagging mom. He's like, all right, I'll be there next week. Done. Dusted. Like that nuclear family is yet another hierarchy of supremacy culture. We need a more, that's mutual aid too, right? Who can take this kid and talk with them? Who can turn around and who's coming to this one's baseball practice or this, that, and the other thing? I literally put one of my children onto the baseball team of my one of my best friend's son as a coach. So when my other kid is being shuffled off to another park, that's okay because they're with their cousin. Bye. I don't have to worry about it. And then they have family that's still showing up for them, right? So they're not sitting there like, oh, mom loves this one more than me. I'm one person. I'm one person. I can't be in all the places at all the times. And how can their needs be met through mutual aid, through community support? So if they don't see me, they don't care because Auntie Key is in the stage. Like, my Auntie Shay Shay, she's there. And they didn't miss me, right? They know that I'm over there with their brother, I'm over there with their sister, and they're still being loved and supported. That's also mutual aid. So we're at the top. I don't want to take up too much time, but I wanted to just give you those examples, right? So child rearing, shared farming, cooperative business models, um, all of those things. All of those things are different forms of mutual aid. So if you're new to this for today, I only do 30 minutes because I really do try to respect time boundaries, right? So heart to you too, Mimi. So we do 30 minutes of a micro lesson every single day. This is usually paywalled. It's $8 a month for my Substack, $80 a year. If you do it all at once, and if you have a financial barrier to that, email me scholarships, Desiree B. Stevens, that's with a PH.com. No questions asked. I will happily give it to you. But this is what we're doing. We are going to be moving through building community and what it actually takes, not only to be in community, but to actually build it and what it takes, what's the processes of unlearning to rebuild something. Because supremacy culture and colonization cannot enter into community spaces, right? That's what makes community unsafe all the time. right? And you can't come through. And I know everybody's feeling so panicked, right? Like I asked the question, I think on the 28th, this Friday, there's supposed to be a protest. And I'm like, okay, well, has it been marked that we're going to be doing small business, right? Like, because I see a lot of like divesting on the 28th. Also, do you understand how money works? Like, one day is not going to be enough. If we look to the people that have been doing this work, when boycotts happened, they already had things in place. What is already in place to go the long mile, right? The second mile. How do you turn a day protest? Because that's like, okay, fine. They know it, and then they know it's coming. They know it's coming. Like, no, there's no surprise, surprise. So they already know the 28th is this is what's happening, right? So 9 times out of 10, if I were a big business person, I'm gonna probably be like, okay, well, you know what? You know who's going to get hurt? The regular person. Because I'm not going to be paying for everybody to be at work. Because folks are not coming to work. We cutting shifts. We cutting hours this week, fam. Because it's one day. Okay. So we need to be thinking bigger. We need to be looking to the people that have been doing this work that can do it again to your capacity and what is actually sustainable. You want to do this? I believe in it. I think we should be divesting from capitalism at all points, at all costs, as often as we possibly can, right? I'm not begrudging anybody the 28th. Do what you need to do. But my call to action is definitely take your money and bring it to any small business, any and all small local businesses that are in your areas because it's a necessity. And then I want you to sit down and reflect, how can you do this for the long haul? What essentials do I need? Who has, how do I make certain things? What regular maker is making toothpaste, making soaps? I'm never going to use that like reusable toilet paper or any of that kind of stuff. So like what toilet paper can I buy in bulk to not have, to just like get it now and not do it? Are there wholesalers around me? Okay. We don't like capitalism, but Costco seems to be doing capitalism in a more ethical way than others. Go to Costco, buy them out for all your basic needs, and then don't shop. Don't shop. Get a susu together and get a collective money together with you and a couple of neighbors, and everybody go, like, okay, look, we got X amount of dollars. We're going to split this. If we have some surplus, we'll give that out. And we're only going to shop every 3 months for essentials only. I promise you, most of us have enough clothes to wear. Most of us have enough things that are not our essential that we could quietly quit. I'm going to write an article about quietly quitting capitalism. We could quietly quit capitalism and do so in a way that we are supporting each other mutually, right? Like more of those groups, those swap groups, more free groups. Hey, I have this. I don't need that. You want to come and get this? I have like 3 bikes that I'm going to be posting on my free group. Are they a little rusty? Yeah, because they sit in the rain. But my kids' regular bikes that they fit now are also rusty because they sit in the rain. We don't need to be doing that. We don't need to be consuming so much. We need to get back to community, and that is going to mean being smaller. So, all of that being said, I shall let you guys go. And let me see what we're talking about tomorrow. Oh, I love potluck night with the community. Yes, I want to start doing that in the fall. I keep saying I'm going to do like my movie nights. But I think this fall I'm actually going to do it. I get a little leery about it because like I know I do it with the people that I actually know, but then I get leery because I am like forward facing and I don't consider myself a public figure, but I definitely know like putting my address out there could bring potential issues that I just don't necessarily want. But it is something that I'm considering, and I actually want to talk to Teresa at Arts Exchange here in East Point and see if there's something that we could do more collectively as a larger community, right? Like I will host it and put my name behind it, but in a larger space. Carrie says, I love the idea you had about quietly quitting capitalism. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Always my pleasure. Yeah, I think that there's a way to do it. And I'm going to, because the, like, again, another thing is park potluck picnic. Yes. Would you come down for one, Michelle? Oh my God, yes. And yes, I want to say your real name every time I see it, Pega. Uh, yeah, I want to talk to Teresa at Arts Exchange and see about what that would look like, a community monthly gathering there. All of that to be said, let me wrap this up. It's 10:05. And then, like I said, time boundaries. So today was mutual aid as a liberation practice. The three takeaways are: one, mutual aid is rooted in solidarity, not charity. Two, mutual aid builds resilient communities. Three, mutual aid is more than just financial support. And tomorrow, we will be talking about mutual aid models as a liberated future. Think. So that's what I have for you guys today. There will be a replay. I send out a replay every single day that kind of breaks down all of these things. It has actionable steps, because one thing I hate is when people talk to me and they don't give actionable steps. It's like, I hear you talking, but what do you want me to do about that, right? So I am very much a I'm talking and here's what I want you to do sort of person. So there we go. See you guys tomorrow. I love you. I mean it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to do this work, right? For showing up and for trusting me to be your guide. That's pretty dope. And what an amazing gift that is for me. So, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.